What's up, everybody out there? And I want to say thanks for tuning in. This is AF Live number 10. We got a special guest, our first guest on AF Live, Bill Carson from Johnson Outdoors. He's going to be talking about all kinds of stuff we did up on Lake Lanier. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Bill is an expert on the Humminbird, down imaging, side imaging, sonar, whatever it has to do with the Humminbird unit. This man right here knows all about him. And let me tell you, I learned a lot fishing with him. Yesterday we were out on the boat, and also we did a show in Lake Lanier. And I'll tell you about that story right now. We were supposed to be down in the Everglades, and called up Bill and said, "Hey, Bill, looks like we're gonna get blown out. We have our camera guys set. We got everybody ready to go, but we can't go anywhere south of Tampa because this Hurricane Hermir, whatever the crazy name was, TD 99, whatever the heck it was. Anyway, it forced us not to go down there. So we called Bill up and said, "Bill, you got anything going on up there in Atlanta?" And sure enough, the stripers were going off, and we're going to start doing a little more freshwater shows, something interior. And that just something that's always interested me was up there, fishing a flooded lake, and some of the images that we got through the Humminbird sonar screenshots and everything were absolutely incredible. Want to talk about the first clip we got coming up, and it was really neat seeing this. And I've seen it when we troll for kingfish, but actually using downriggers on Lake Lanier. And the average depth you said of Lake Lanier, the deepest spot's
150 feet.
150 feet in fresh water, which is, that's new to me. Anything over 10 foot in fresh water in Florida is a pretty deep hole. But and you don't use downriggers here in Florida in fresh water. At least I never have.
Right.
But and the Mary Poppins Rig, which got a new name up there on the lake. But it was really neat up there learning how to basically video fish. And I think that's basically what we called the show was, video fishing. And you'll see that show next year. But you're going to be able to see a couple of clips coming up. And the first one we got coming up is basically showing how the downrigger ball, and used in conjunction with your Humminbird, you're going to know exactly how deep that downrigger ball is and how far back your line is. Like I said, I learned a lot. But check out this first little clip coming up from Lake Lanier. It was a pretty cool shoot. Just a short clip. Check this out. So, Bill, these are trees right here?
Yep, these are trees, and the trees are coming up to about, maybe 75 feet below the surface. That one right there is. And this is our downrigger ball tracking on the sonar off of the back of the boat, and we're tracking right at that level where all the bait is. Here's a couple of fish coming up right here. Mm-hmm. Just starting to show up on the screen. There's a school of bait. It looks like there's going to be bait, and it looks like there's going to be several fish right here. It actually looks like that fish came up to look at the downrigger ball because it heard all the commotion. See where it came up, and it stopped right below it. It looks like it hung there for a second. You don't know which way it went, but we have a couple of swim baits that are out 80 to 100 feet behind the downrigger balls, and the hope is that somebody will come over and take a swipe and
get a hook in their face.
We can bring them to the boat.
Well, folks, that was a few shots from Lake Lanier, and we got some screenshots that Bill did when we were out there. And I've seen them in the Humminbird magazine and the catalogs and stuff, and never had seen it, real live. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, that's a tree, that's a forest. Hold on, that's a lake bed down there. That's the river bed. And he's like, yeah.
It's incredible, because what happens is that with side imaging and down imaging, it's using this little bitty crystal that's only about 3.5 inches long, and that's how thick from front to back that signal is. So consequently, what we're doing is we have to be moving. As we're moving over something, it has the ability to give us incredible images, incredible target separation. As you can see here, you can see every single branch on the tree. And look how the tree that's standing tallest, almost in the middle, off to the side of the hillside there, you can literally see a fish right in the top of that tree that's either going up or going down. It looks like it's headed down. You can see them on the 2D sonar over here where we're chirping and we're listening to 150 to 250. It's incredible what you can see. Look how you can see the fish down in the trees. You got trees that are coming up to, 80 feet below the surface and 94 feet, so they're 15-foot high trees, and you can absolutely see those trees. The round one, you know what the round one is. You've got it on the back of your boat.
I use that quite a bit.
Well, it's 360. So basically what it gives us the ability to do is, without moving, we can sit still. You can see here we're going 0.1 miles an hour, so we're basically sitting still, and we can see that most of these fish are over on the left side of the boat. It tells us where we need to be casting.
And one thing that I used on the 360, and I know this is off script a little bit, but up in North Carolina, we were doing a show up there where the pogie schools were coming by. The water was so dirty and it was windy, it was rocking. We couldn't see the pogie schools coming unless we had the 360 on, and you could actually see each time, and I call it like underwater radar, because each time that bar goes around, you could see the pogie school on this part of the screen, this part of the screen, this part of the screen, and you could see the redfish literally underneath or following the schools of pogies. It was pretty cool using it that way.
I remember coming down here and literally using the 360 for catching snook at the inlet at St. Lucie, because everybody goes out there and they throw their anchor out and they get in what they think is the perfect position, and they take a live bait, they put it on the hook, they lob it over in front of the little island, they let it sweep by, they wind it back in, they do it again. After a couple of times, it's all red-nosed. So the chance of it getting bit because it's not a fresh bait, well, we got to put another fresh bait on. With 360, you could take and put the bait on the hook, put it back in the live well, sit there with the rod, watch the 360, you see the fish coming in against the jetties, then lob your bait over in front of it. Now you got a very fresh bait, and you just put it in front of the fish. It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to talk about too. When you see those pictures that are so clear on there about the trees and stuff, there's two different settings, and I just kind of learned this a little bit. I knew one setting was better than the other one, but I really didn't know why. The 455 megahertz setting compared to the 800 megahertz setting.
Yeah, you're looking at two different pieces of real estate, so you have to look at your specific unit to see what it is, and it's in the book, it's in the catalog, it's online at humminbird.com. But basically for the Onyx, which you're using, on 455, it's looking at 86 degree of view out to the side, more real estate than it is on 800. On 800, it's looking at 45 degree view, so it's about half.
So everything's a lot sharper image.
That's correct.
Cool beans. Well, we took the boat out yesterday around the Skyway, and we got some really cool shots for you guys that fish the Skyway, and kind of talking about a little bit different signatures that the bait gives off, and basically how to find them and what side of the boat you need to cast your net on. So check this video out of the Skyway right here in Tampa Bay with the expert from Johnson Outdoors. Well, guys, we're sitting here at the Skyway now. We're going to show you what we're talking about as far as using your down imaging, your side imaging, and also your sonar to catch bait. Like today, it's kind of an overcast day. The wind's blowing, the water's real dark, so the bait's not on top of the water. So what we're doing, we're using our electronics right now to see if we can find schools of bait. Right now, we got a lot of pilchards, a lot of threadfin herring, and a lot of cigar minnows down there. But this is the Skyway. But I got the excellent person right here to tell you every bit about Humminbird electronics. And Bill, tell us what we're looking at here.
So basically what we're doing is we're just passing behind these big turrets or whatever they're called on the Skyway Bridge here. And you see the bait starting to show up on 2D sonar. You see it on down imaging, which we've changed to 800 kilohertz because it gives us a little better target separation and definition because it's looking at less real estate. But if we touch the screen with both fingers and we pop to a full screen view of side imaging, we can see which side of the keel of the boat that the bait is on. See how we have most of the bait is actually on the port side of the boat over here. So if I were going to throw the cast net here, I'd probably want to throw it over here. Even though we're throwing into the wind, I still have a better chance of filling my cast net up than if I throw it on the starboard side of the boat. And I can literally tell that by looking at this side imaging shot right here. It's incredible. Look at how the big fish right here, see how the bait ball's opening up? So look how the bait ball's opening up right here, and look at the fish feeding into it, and it's just kind of separated. So I can touch my screen, I can move my cursor over the top of it, I can zoom in on it and literally see that individual fish, and I can save it as a screen snapshot so that when I catch it, I can go back and see what it looked like on the sonar, which is what you see is what you caught.
You know, Bill, that's the first time I'd ever seen that actually on the screen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the bait, you know, out off Port Canaveral, big giant schools of pogies, and one big black area, and then right in the middle of it, there's one little white area. And that's exactly what the screenshot showed right there.
That's exactly what that is. So you can see all the bait, you can see where it's parting, you can see the predator fish coming in. It's time for dinner. The dinner bag is on.
Yeah. So you know right where to, and I always say that, you know, always if you're snagging the bait and letting it drop down below the school, you saw right where that fish was hanging. He was that far below the school. So all you got to do is get your bait a little bit below that school, and he gets noticed. And everybody always wonders, why does he come eat my bait? Because They always go for the weakest link.
Your bait looks different. When I was working around an aquarium, I actually took and would throw the bait into the aquarium and watch the fish. And there could be bait in the aquarium, but the one bait that I threw into the aquarium was the bait that those fish attack. So when you put something in new, it's not been hanging with the pack. It looks different. It's putting off this vibe that says, I am scared to death, and it says, I'm going to go eat it.
Yeah.
So it takes off after it.
Definitely. We talked about the bait signatures on the screenshot right there.
Little more.
Okay. About, a lot of times different throughout the year, you're going to have different baits that go by the Skyway out there. And like I mentioned in that video right there, you have the thread fins, you have white bait, you have Spanish sardines, and a couple other different baits that come through there that they're all good baits, but you'd like to know what you're fishing with and what you want to cast at. Definitely learn those signatures.
One of the things I tell people all the time is that if they want to understand what the fish that they're seeking or want to catch looks like, take that fish whenever they catch it and they get it into the boat. Let it have 6 or 8 feet of line or 5 feet of line or what have you. Just stick the rod holder up in the gunnel rod holder on the back of the boat close to the transducer and let that bait swim back and forth underneath the transducer and see what that fish looks like.
Yeah, I never thought of doing that. What I've told people before is when you see a school of pogies and you're going after pogies, just take an extra minute and go over it with your sonar. That way the signature that shows up on your sonar, your down imaging or your side imaging, you're going to know that, okay, that's a school of pogies, and you don't have to see that it's a school of pogies. You just know by the signature. Like we have so many different types of bait right here at the Skyway. We have the white bait, the sardines, and they all throw a different signature. And that's what I used to tell people is just go over it, take a little bit of time, go over it with your sonar, and that way you're going to know exactly what the fish is down there that you're going to catch, as far as the bait is anyway. Let's see. Oh God, I just lost out. Sponsor spotlight right now. We're going to talk about the new, and I've seen some questions come up on the video on the screen here. The new 2 3/4 inch DOA shrimp. Somebody asked me what was my favorite color shrimp. This one is it right here. It's got gold on the belly and it glows on the top. I call it a cotton shrimp a lot of times. It resembles a shrimp that we have in the Indian River Lagoon system that turns white on the belly. It looks just like that. Not so much with the pink eyes, but it looks good in the water and the fish do eat it. And want us to give a shout out to another sponsor that we picked up for next year. Procure. Everybody's used it. You've heard me talk about it even off camera. The stuff absolutely works. This is pinfish. They have so many different varieties of flavors out there. If you're throwing shrimp, throw a shrimp flavor. If you're throwing a pinfish looking bait, throw a pinfish bait. And they just pick your right scent for the bait that you're throwing. But new 2 3/4 inch shrimp. It's available everywhere now, so definitely can get you some. Well, we just came off plane, came back around, coming up on this buoy right here. It's got a nice Tripletail on it. Let me show you what I'm throwing too. This is the new 2-inch shrimp by DOA. It's got orange eyes on it. Got a few different colors of them, but 2-inch shrimp throws great in the wind, has a great action to it. But can't wait to catch another one. Where is he? Oh, he's on the other side.
Oh, I see him there.
Just got his head poking out. He's not that big. We'll educate him on a DOA.
Oh, he wanted it. Ew! Right off the bat. Man, that didn't take nothing. Ah!
Just can't pass up catching a fish.
They like that one. Here, let me jump down from up here. I'll help you out.
Woo! Yeah, I think he'll make a 15-inch.
Oh, yeah. Gotta be careful with these guys, for sure.
Oh! Careful with them fins.
Gotta watch them. Gotta be careful when you grab these guys.
Yeah, and they have it's not a real bad fungus that they get on their dorsal there, but it's a nasty slime and it'll get you infected really bad. See you, buddy. And that is the new 2-inch DOA shrimp that is working like a charm. Get something to do a chunk out of.
Look at that, yep.
That's the little dude right there, the 2 3/4 inch DOA shrimp, available anywhere right now. But if you want to get it right now, go to their website, doalures.com, and you can order it right there. Also get some Procure on their side as well. But Want to talk about saving images. Now, that's something I really didn't do because I don't, going back and downloading images after a long, hard day, it kind of got time consuming for me, but definitely starting to do it now. Tell folks out there how to save images and a good reason why to save images.
Yeah, everybody has the ability on the Humminbird unit, so long as it's a unit that has a GPS in it, that means that it has the ability to put a card in it. And by putting that card in, I have the ability to save exactly what's on the screen at any time just by pressing mark or pressing the camera on the Onyx units, and everything that's on that screen saves at the same resolution that's on the screen. I can use that to go back and look at it later and identify what the fish is. I can use it to remember what it was that I saw when I caught whatever it was I caught that day that I had the pictures from. It's a way to keep a log, basically, or to go back and study and learn how you're using your unit, where you're seeing the fish, what depths they're at, and all those other things. Because you have all that digital data that's on the screen too. I can see depth, I can see temperature, I can see whatever the digital data overlay is that I put on the screen.
You can also do a screenshot, say if you forget what your bait pod looks like that you're looking at, you say, oh, I forgot that if it's got red in there, you go back and compare the images of the bait pod you're going over.
Absolutely. It's a great way to do it. Let me give you a tip. So one of the things that all of our units that carry an SD card, which is going to be all of your GPS capable units, is that unit has the ability built into it to save a screen snapshot. On the Helix units, you have to save it to an SD card. On the Onyx units, you can save it to the SD card or the internal memory. But the bottom line is you have the ability to save those screen snapshots as a JPEG, take them over to your laptop or your desktop at home, and sit there and look at those shots over and over and study them. And now you learn what you're specifically looking for when you're out on the waterway. It's a great tool to use.
Awesome looking screenshots there. We also got some great screenshots in Tampa Bay a little bit yesterday. Have no idea what that is. It could be a big shark, could be
a giant squid. I'm just kidding. Actually, what I think that is I think that is three fish that move through that signal, and they're both coming up and going down off the bottom.
And we were going real slow at the time too, so it matters what speed you're going when it's recording, and once you figure out the sweet spot where it's showing up everything the way it's supposed to look, you know what speed to troll at and everything.
Absolutely. Check out the tarpon shots here. Look at the tarpon off to the right side of the boat. I know which side of the boat to cast on.
These are some screenshots on the left over there that you got.
These came from Australia. These are called threadfin salmon. And those fish are sitting in the current. They're all facing the same way. This shot right here actually won first place in a screen competition for Saltwater Fishing Magazine.
Absolutely incredible. It what's coming next?
Hey, I'm going to tell you, we got one that's come. We got one in here that we're going to take a look at in a few minutes that looks pretty darn good. A snook, and you can see everything about the snook. It's incredible.
It's amazing. Now, up next in the next video we got coming up is we're talking about the difference between Helix and Onyx, and basically the difference in the screens and how would you use them. So check this video out here. Now, I know you're running the Helix, I run the Onyx. What situation would you tell somebody to run the Helix instead of the Onyx, or the Onyx instead of the Helix? Is it a fresher saltwater thing? Or?
No, it's not. The unit doesn't know the difference between freshwater and saltwater. It's just sending a sound wave through the water. So they're going to all do basically the same kind of thing. They don't operate the same way though. So the Onyx has a built-in down imaging transducer element as well as side imaging elements and a 2D element all built into one transducer on the SI version. I have the ability to do a lot of touch with the Onyx, or all touch with the Onyx, or I can turn the touch off. With the Helix, I only have the capability to do button. That's it. So that would be part of my determining factor on which one I would want to use.
Both great units, so I've used both of them.
Yep.
They both work well.
Well, the cool thing too about the Onyx is I have the ability to wipe the screen back or go back and look at history and not just see what was on the screen, because on the Helix, as soon as it feeds off the screen on the feed, it's gone forever.
How long is the cache on this?
The cache on it depends on how fast you're going, but I'm probably going to get somewhere around 150 feet at idle speed.
Pretty cool stuff, huh?
It's incredible what you can see.
I cannot believe the advancements that's been coming up. Up here we got a shot of grass flats. This is right on, I can't tell you exactly where it is.
It's a secret spot.
It's a secret spot, but that's grass flats right next to a seawall. And you can see exactly how the grass flat looks. Even with the contour line, you can tell we're in a little bit shallower water. And I'm going to have you touch on that contour line because that's one of the questions that I get asked a lot about that contour line. And, you know, how do you get rid of it and what's it mean when there's something in that black spot?
Well, it's called contour mode, and that's not actually the contour line. What the center line is the kill of the boat, and that's very, very narrow black line because right here I'm going to guesstimate that if you look at the scale across the top, that's actually only about 4 feet of water, but look how much detail I can see. Look at how much real estate. Do you realize in 4 feet of water with 2D sonar, I'm only going to be seeing about a foot of bottom. That's the size of a piece of paper, but look at what I'm looking at. I'm looking at 74 feet on the port side of the boat and 74 feet on the starboard side of the boat. That's 150 feet of bottom that I'm looking at, and I could mark all the way around that grass flat so that I could effectively fish it later when I came back. Because it's so shallow now, I'm probably going to spook the fish.
Yeah. Yeah, that is incredible. We had the same thing in Texas, and you know what happens in Texas when the wind blows. You cannot see that deep in the water, and we were actually marking a lot of the grass flats out there and able to fish them in between them and all the different areas out there where they were hiding.
Right.
Up next, the video we got is a bait ball. It kind of gives a lot of people ask me what, you'll see the video of how I'm trying to explain of different signature stuff. Check this out. It's pretty neat. All right, folks, prime example of what we're talking about. We know that these are threadfin herring right here, and they leave a different signature on the sonar than what, say, pogies would, or what we call white bait. So we're fixing to go over the school right now, so let's come back to the Humminbird and let's see what it looks like on the sonar.
Look at the big fish over here. There's big fish around it. See, here's the bait right here, and then look at the big fish around it. See the shadows from the big fish? Look at that fish right there. You can see where its head is. You can see where its tail is. That looks like a snook.
Those look like a snook. Screen capture.
But I can see the shadow out to the side of it, and that gives me some indication of how high it is up off the bottom. So this fish were at the surface chasing that bait.
That was the video, or that was the screenshot that we were talking about, and we just happened to catch that one underneath that bait ball. We were cruising back, and I saw this big bait ball on the surface, and I said, "Hey, it's a perfect opportunity to do the signatures that I was talking about." And that snook happened to be underneath the bait ball.
Snook just happened to be there trying to put the feed on. Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Let's take some questions now. Sorry we've been ignoring the questions right now, but we're gonna let Bill jump on this one right here with Jeremy Lopez. Jeremy's saying, what's the best way to mount a transducer to a smaller vessel, kayak, Ginu, etc.? Had issues when getting in skinny water.
Well, there are all kinds of things that you can do. I mean, you literally could take a piece of aluminum or a piece of board and mount the transducer onto it and C-clamp it onto the back of the boat so that it's only down there when you want to use it. When you're going into the really skinny water and you're not really looking for fish or structure, you just pop the C-clamp off and lay it over in the boat and wait till you need it again and pop it right back on. I do that all the time. It's a great thing to do.
It's better than a Louisiana depth checker, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Suggestions for a Humminbird to go on a 12-foot John boat.
I got to say, anything that's a small boat is typically going to be used in small water, like a kayak or a canoe. I would highly recommend utilizing side imaging first and foremost. And you guys have seen what side imaging can do for you and how much more real estate that you can see. If you see the fish on your 2D sonar, the chances of you catching that fish are pretty slim because you're only in 3 or 4 or 5, 6 feet of water and you've already spooked them. If I can see them out to the side of the boat, then my chances of catching them are better. So I would recommend at least a side imaging unit and as big a screen as you can buy, because the one thing that I hear on a regular basis is I wish I had bought bigger.
Understand that. Okay, up next we're changing the color palette. Uh-oh. Which one am I looking at? Oh, more questions.
Color palette.
Color palettes. Okay, we're going to hit the color palettes now. And Bill, you touched on this the other day, and I learned something that I did not know about the Humminbird unit, about hitting hard spots and soft spots. So tell me about the shell beds that we're looking at there.
Well, the deal with the shell beds is one of the palettes. First of all, let me back up. Color palettes, there are a whole bunch of them, and most people use the unit set to default, which is what it comes out of the factory with. But you have a whole bunch of colors that you can pick for 2D sonar, you have colors that you can pick for down imaging, you have colors that you can pick for side imaging. And a really cool color palette that works good for saltwater in particular is the one that you see in this image right here, and that's the green and red. Because everything that's given off a really strong return of signature is going to be red and everything else is going to be green. So you're out there and you're in the sand, it's sand bottom, and all of a sudden you come up on a shell bed and that shell bed is going to glow red like that. And I literally, and this really doesn't depict what you can see.
Well, actually right there, when I remember when you took that shot, and what we're looking at there is a beach up to our right, and right where all that red is where all the crushed up bigger shells were, where it washes in the little trough right there, and that's exactly where they're at.
That's right. That's where the fish are. You have the ability to mark that entire deal. As I pass by it, I can mark all the way around it so I can effectively fish it.
That's pretty neat. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show y'all about our side imaging. My cousin found a canoe in his canal that he's living on, and he said, you got to come take a look at this if you want a good picture of a boat.
I'm not sure we're sure it's a canoe, but let's look at this.
Check this out. Y'all tell us what y'all think it is. How's that?
That'll
All
work.
right, folks, another little pointer that we're going to show you about our side imaging with the Humminbird now. We've moved inside. We've come around all the docks, basically in the residential areas here, and there's no telling what you're going to find on the bottom here. My cousin just got a brand new Humminbird unit, was mapping out his canal here, and he came across a canoe, and sure enough, there's the canoe right there. And we're going to show you what it looks like when you can really professionally zoom in on it.
Look at that. You can see the seats in it. You can see both seats in it. I can change my contrast and get it to where I can really see it good. There we go. That's probably a good shot, at least for my eyes it is. So I can see the contrast on it. I can also tag it here. I can move my cursor right over the top of it and mark a waypoint there. And then I can go move right to this end of it and mark a waypoint there. And now I've got it waypointed. I know exactly where the front and the back of the canoe is. And that's the same technique that you would use if it was a barge or a ship or some rubble offshore to be able to mark it. And then you would go into your chart view and sit still with your boat, let the wind or the current move your boat, and that would tell you how you wanted to set up to fish it, would it not?
Yeah, exactly. And with the iPilot link, you can also hit each one of those little spots, and it'll put you on four corners of the boat, whether it be the port, starboard, aft, or
You're exactly correct.
that other one.
Yeah, that's a great technique for being a. That's why guys that understand how to do that catch more fish.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Jeremy Lopez out there, great question. And Jeremy's question was, with these systems, is there a way to replay your trips at home? It would be great to scout areas off the water. Bill, answer this one.
Absolutely, you can. I do it all the time. So I don't always have the time to catch every screen snapshot, which is something that I want to use to teach with or what have you. In my particular case, what I can do is record sonar by pushing a couple of buttons and record it onto a blank SD card. And then when I'm back at my house and I'm sitting at the dock under shade or whatever, I can just push the button and replay that. And I can even save screen snapshots from it while I'm watching it. It's pretty cool.
So there you go. Yes, you can. Blair, what do you think of using Google Earth to find fishing spots? Absolutely. I used it for years back before. Well, actually, Navionics has an overlay. What is it? It's actually a
Satellite aerial.
Satellite image, and it will work with your Humminbird unit as well. But a lot of times they're old pictures, and if you're in Louisiana, you'll run over land and everything else that used to be there. But yeah.
We have one of those for the Louisiana area. That's our first area that we added it for. It's absolutely incredible. I can see where the blow-throughs are. The color, it's easy to discern what it is. I can see the canals. I can see all the little areas I can try. It's a Lake Master chart.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that one, because I know I've seen how good they are in freshwater, the Lake Master series, and I can't wait to see them.
You got to see that on Lake Lanier.
I got to see that for sure. One thing about the canoe that you saw in the live video there is that it looked a little bit squashed, looked a little bit fat. That was due to the slow speed that we were going over the canoe. I was thinking, the slower you go, the better picture you're going to get. But no, you want to go at a nice normal idle speed. That way it doesn't elongate it and flatten it out and stretch it and whatnot.
Well, you can change it. It's on the Onyx. Your chart speed is actually set to 5, which is half speed. And you can slow it down or speed it up depending on what it is that you're seeing. and how you're seeing it. You know what the canoe should look like, so when you look at that, you know that it looks squatted, and it's just because everything is slowed down. I speed it up a little bit, and it stretches it out, and now I can see. You see how we could see actually the seats that someone would sit in the front of the back of the canoe with. It's pretty strong.
It was definitely neat. Can you see fish on the Sonar, schools of fish?
On the Sonar, you're going to see them if they're under the boat. On down imaging, you're going to see them if they're under the boat. Under the transducer is a better way. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you look at this screen snapshot that we have right here, you can see the bait and you can literally see the fish. And I can see fish on side imaging and I can see fish on down imaging underneath the boat.
Well, I can tell you, I'll definitely be changing a lot of my screen, a lot of my screen setups the way when I'm out looking for fish now. I'm definitely going to have the side imaging on. I didn't use it as much as the down imaging, but now that I've been educated on it.
Well, everything's right underneath your boat. I want to see what's out to the side of my boat, because right underneath my boat maybe isn't the best place for me to be fishing always, depending on the depth of the water.
Let's see, is there a proprietary software for that SD card playback, or is it just a video feed?
It is the video on the machine. So if you have a Helix unit and you go in and you press menu twice, and you go in and you press and you go around till you see that view with the recording. If you have a recording that you've just made on the card, you're going to be able to press playback. You'll see it on there, and you can press playback and go back and actually look at it. For someone who doesn't know how to do that and wants to see how to do it, if you'll go to YouTube and subscribe to Humminbird TV as a channel, there are tons of videos on there that will teach the customers how to use the different functions of the unit. And those videos last anywhere from maybe 30 seconds to a minute and a half. It is a great way to learn how to use your unit.
Well, I've actually gone on there and done it myself, so don't feel bad about going and doing it. Even I do it. I mean,
most people put their units on their boat and they want to go fishing, so they don't ever learn how to use the units.
About 3 buttons is all about every
on and off.
Yeah, on and off, and zoom in.
Or mark.
Or mark.
Mark those waypoints. I saw somebody ask a question about how do I go back to that fishing spot. With the Humminbird units, one of the things that you noticed is you saw some of the pictures that we had, literally move the cursor over the top of that object, whatever that object is, and press mark, and it marks that spot, and I can go right back to it. And you saw that when we were fishing on Lake Lanier.
Unbelievable. Like I say, I learned a ton. All right, we're going to show you who the Show Your Mogan winner is this week. And this is Blake, and he's got what?
These are the winners.
Oh, I'm sorry. These are the previous winners of the Show Your Mogan contest.
All summer long.
All summer long. And I remember the kids with their shirts on. I remember that one. That was fun.
Love to see the kids fishing. That's awesome.
Oh, no doubt. And there's some nice snook. Can't read them all, but there's a big green one down there. You see the stripe right there too?
Yeah.
Smallmouth. Should we tell them what they're going to see on the show next year? Something that AF I never would have thought we'd have shown this on the show.
I never thought you would have eaten it.
Oh, I ate it. It was delicious. We're going to keep that one for a surprise, but something that if I give a hint, it's like telling you what it is. But Blake. Hopefully you're watching out there, because your 48-inch redfish just got you the Instagram. What are we doing on there? He's getting all this?
Yep.
All right. Well, Blake, we're giving you a pair of Costa Del Mar sunglasses, some new 5.5 or 5-inch swim baits. Ingle, this is for a Coke.
Those are those same swim baits that we caught the stripers on.
Yep, same swim baits. You're getting a color that I have specially picked out, and I picked that one out from Mosquito Lagoon in that area, but wherever there's some nice clean water, that's a great color. Mirror lure with trocar hooks. Don't get them in your hand. I saw that on the comments earlier. But I can't see.
That's Blake.
That's Blake. I know. That's what I said. He was up there, right?
Man, that's a redfish.
Okay, well, Blake, there's your redfish. It's a 48-inch redfish, and that is the winner this month, and congratulations. You got the big prize pack here, brother.
That's the final winner.
That is the final winner of the season. But I got a big prize pack, and maybe if you catch one of those big redfish, you can make your dad wash the boat with your new boat wash too. But that was a Show Your Mogan video. We were out. Let's see if we can do a couple of more questions here. Where's everybody from? That's a good question for me. Love to see where everybody's from out there. So post where you're from and give us a good question. Is Twitter the best place to submit Show Your Mogan pics? Basically on Instagram, hashtag Show Your Mogan, and we'll go to all our social media sites out there. And let's see around. We are bringing some. Oh, that's Addictive Fishing. Why doesn't Walmart sell trocar hooks, but yet it sells eel claw laser sharp hooks? Moonsaker. I have seen the trocars in Walmart. Maybe they were sold out of them, but I know a lot of them down there definitely sell them, and I know Dick's definitely has them if you can go to Dick's. Ocala, San Antonio, Pensacola, Savannah, St. Cloud, UAE.
United Arab Emirates.
There we go.
Nice.
There's some fishing down there. Corpus Christi, love you guys down there, man.
There's no redfish down there.
There's no redfish down there. We did a grand opening down in Port Mansfield, and the YouTube audience down there. That's all everybody watched was YouTube down there.
That's awesome.
We had 250, 300 people there waiting on me to get there, and I wasn't even late that time.
Wow. You're never late for going fishing. I learned that.
No, never late. Okay, guys, we did, like I said, we went out yesterday and did some Humminbird how-to side imaging. Like I said, I learned a lot yesterday, and I definitely learned a lot from fishing with Bill up on Lake Lanier. One neat place to fish, and if y'all get a chance to head up there, it's Lake Lanier Island Resort. And I tell you what, I'm gonna go up there. I said it on the video. I'm gonna go up there on vacation. It's just a different. It's a change of scenery for me.
It's a beautiful place. It's huge. It's I want to say it's like 1,200 acres or something like that. It's an incredible place to go to.
Yeah, it was neat. And here's the video. Oh, what? What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Which one was it?
You got to see it, Lanier Islands Resort. It's an incredible place, and right there, I mean, that says it all. Picture says is worth 1,000 words. That video is worth 1,000,000 words.
Actually, that picture did not do it justice. It's twice as beautiful what that video just shown. Real Yakin, can you please put your question up again? Because it goes so fast and it gets off the screen, and I'm sorry that we didn't see it. But yeah, put it up again, and we will answer it best we can.
Daniel is asking, with the Humminbird, can you set it up on any boat? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can put it on a kayak, a canoe, a big boat, a small boat. It does not matter.
Will you go fishing in Cape Coral? We did a Cape Coral show years ago. It's on the web. It's on the YouTube site. It is called
Suburban Style.
Suburban Style. It was a pretty cool fishing show. We did it with Ben Chansey, so that was a while back before Ben had his show out, and get to see Ben when he was a little kid. What's my favorite waterfowl to hunt? Got to be teal. That's definitely it. It's coming up right around the corner too.
What about you, Bill?
Oh man, I love hunting ducks whenever I get to.
And Bryce Trafford, if you're out there in California, I'm sorry I couldn't come out there. I was supposed to be in California right now, Bill, but had to catch some fish. But I'll be out there in December, Bryce, and we'll get together and maybe wet a line.
Man, that's a great place to fish. The Delta is an incredible place.
It is California Delta?
That's right.
It is a neat place.
It
We
is.
usually go out to San Clemente or out to, San Clemente is a great place. Or Catalina Island.
Catalina Island is an awesome place too.
It's definitely a neat
Nothing
one.
wrong with the yellowtail.
Okay, guys, let's get some questions in here. We're going on our 45 minutes, which we're about 15 minutes overtime on this. Where was the question?
What is your favorite fish to catch? They're going to have to watch the video. They're going to have to watch the show that's coming up from Lanier to see what might be your favorite freshwater fish.
Oh, yeah.
At least eating-wise, right?
Definitely eating-wise. Something out of Lake Lanier that's normally up in Minnesota.
Oh, you're giving it away. Come
No,
on, man.
that could be those yellow Oh, gave it away.
Oh, there's a good question. Basshead. Justin, what are some tips for tripletail of crab traps out of Tampa?
Basically try to get on their tail side. They're going to be facing into the current and throw the shrimp up and where you can see it come down and drop it right on their nose where you put it on like a mustache. And if they don't eat it when you do that, there's something wrong with the fish.
Basshead is asking, how deep does Humminbird side imaging work? It's going to work deeper in freshwater than it is in saltwater. In freshwater, you're going to be able to use it. I can use it pretty effectively up to 150 feet. In saltwater,
I've done the same in saltwater at
Oh, cool.
150, so even with the 360.
good answer.
How can you tell minnows and fish when they are schooling?
Bigger splashes?
Bigger splashes. It's going to be, if you're using your sonar and your down imaging in conjunction, if you look there on the screen right now, your sonar is going to show the big blob of colors and just a big blob of color. And then you switch over to your down imaging, which is to the right of the sonar, and that's going to pick out your individual fish there. You can basically tell the size of the fish kind of by the blob. If it's one big giant blob, on sonar, this is the down imaging right here, but that is going to turn out to be just one big red blob right there, and with the down imaging it picks out the individual fish.
Well, your littler baits stay more tightly compacted, and so there's not an opportunity to see target separation and definition from those fish. And with the bigger baits, there's a little bit more space between them, and in my experience, I can literally tell that they are bigger baits by seeing that.
Let's see, Cam and Scott, real time. With kayak fishing, the Humminbird imaging, get the side views too. Have you ever tried kayak fishing? I'm from Ocean Beach, North Carolina.
We have some screen snapshots that we'll share on the website here where you can literally see the oar strokes on a kayak with someone paddling the kayak, and you have the ability to see out to the side of the boat. You do want to be going about 0.7 miles an hour to start to get a better view for side imaging. Otherwise, everything's kind of stretched out. But remember, you can always speed up or slow down your scroll speed in order to help that. So that's a good tip to use right there.
Aaron's got a good question there. Mounting the transducer in the front or rear of the boat, does it matter?
I would definitely put it in the rear of the boat, especially for a power boat, a boat with an engine. If you're going to use it with a trolling motor and you want to put it on something in the bow of the boat, then that's fine. You're seeing it before you get to it if you're moving. But if you're in shallow water, I just put it on the back of the boat.
Transducer mounted on side or rear. You want to have it center line.
Yeah, you
And
want
close to center line as possible. That way, it's going to tell you, right side or left side. You're not going to have to make a guess. So as close to center line as possible.
And there's a great video at Humminbird TV on YouTube that shows you exactly how to mount the transducer so that you can hold the bottom when you're going at speed. It's showing you the position, what you look for, what you want to try to avoid, and all those other things. So go to Humminbird TV on YouTube and check that out.
Around Town Fishing's got a great question. It's what's my favorite fishing snack, and you'll see these wrappers all over the boat. I mean, when we're shooting shows, you see these wrappers all over the boat because me and my camera guys absolutely eat these things up. It's called Rugged Meats, and they're I don't know if you've seen them or tried them. They're made with wild boar.
Wow.
and packaged up, and they're awesome. So that's one thing I snack on out on the boat.
I'm sorry, I put it in my pocket. You're not getting that one back, boss.
Shameless plug, but I tell you, they're good. They're like all the other snacks out there, except they're better for you.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Blake might share some of these Costa Del Mars with me? I love Costa Del Mar.
I don't know. I haven't seen him come on, man. Wait a minute. He didn't. Capt Blair,
awesome.
have you ever tried kayak fishing? Have you ever been on a Florida sleigh ride? Yes, I have, Cam and Scott, but I have a back injury from when I was a little kid, and I cannot sit. And I've tried every expensive seat out there on the market, and I just can't sit in a kayak for that long. What's my favorite striped bass lure? Right here on what we call a Mary Poppins rig, and
We were using white and white with chartreuse, but basically what he's referring to as a Mary Poppins rig is really known as an umbrella rig. It's kind of like a giant A rig that people cast for fish. But all up in the Northeast, which is where a lot of the big striped bass are, there is a lot of usage in Chesapeake Bay and all over utilizing the umbrella rigs. And putting those swim baits on, like those DOA 4-inch baits, they're absolutely deadly.
oh, they got that wag that it creates so much vibration. It drove those fish nuts. And we hooked make sure when y'all check this show out, the last fish that we caught on the show.
Was that fish or plural?
It was fish, as in fish. The last fish we caught on the show, you're not going to believe it. We went by and we were watching the screen the whole time. It was a video fishing show. Watching the screen the whole time. We went by a beautiful tree, and on this side of the tree there was a school of fish. And we went by the wrong side of the tree and actually ended up going by the right side of the tree. And on the second pass, boom! It was video fishing at its finest. What color sunglass lens do I prefer for shallow water fishing? Right now, I don't have them. I just went to a new one. They're the Corbina frames. And one thing that I noticed, these are the Costa Del Mars, and these are the Corbinas. They're blue, and people just think I'm wearing blue because I like blue. But these lenses, what I've noticed they do, they let in a little bit more light in here, and it lightens everything up for me. And I swear it makes everything pop out at me a lot better. But those are definitely the new lenses I'm wearing, or the new style I'm wearing. It covers more of my face, so not as much light gets in. But that's it right there, the Corbina, and that color is just basically your copper color. They make green copper, and this is just the amber copper color. Works great. Oh, here we go. Real yak, and I have my transducer mounted on a ram ball transducer arm mount off the side of my yak. Would it affect it anyway versus being in the rear 13-foot kayak?
No, it's not really gonna infect it unless you have those oar strokes that are making turbulence right by the transducer on the side of the boat. On the rear of the boat, you have an opportunity to get clean, or what we call clean water coming under the transducer, so it's going to give you a better signal.
Oh, cool. Cam and Scott, I have done the sleigh ride, and I put up with as much pain as I can in the kayaks. But if I'm up wanting to be in skinny water, I got a Ginu that I can get up and but pole that thing anywhere I want to go. And it's the shallow water in that thing's almost like doing the paddleboard and almost like kayaking, but at least my back's not hurting.
Oh, Jeremy Lopez is asking a cool question. How are you approaching redfish schools on the move? This time of year in Tampa Bay, they're constantly moving.
I would say set up, if you know where the redfish school is going to be, there's no sense in going behind that school and turning your trolling motor on, because the first thing they're going to do is start to go away from the boat. And the harder you turn that trolling motor on, the faster they're going to go away. And they're constantly going to stay a cast and a half away from you. They know exactly how far they need to be. So what I would suggest is get to the area, set up where when that school is going to spook, what direction that school is going to go. And when that school spooks, be in that area right there, and they're going to come right to you. The fish in Tampa Bay are hard to pattern, and they're hard to get to eat once they're on the move. It's all about the water column. Oh, that's Mr. Turner right there. Yo, Wiggins. It's all about the water column. You got to meet Shane yesterday.
Absolutely.
You got any questions, Shane?
Let's see. Fisher 234. I don't have red schools. If there's redfish in your area, there should be some schools somewhere. And
what's the best time to fish for trout? When they're biting.
When they're biting.
Hey,
exactly.
Speaking of that, you learned this at Lake Lanier. This came from me. What's a good fish?
Any fish.
Anyone that bites.
Anyone
there
that
you
bites,
go.
For sure. They're all good. Let's see. The transducer is in front of the paddle strokes, so my strokes are behind its scan.
That's fine. That works. Yeah, if the transducer's in front of the paddle strokes, as long as you're getting good clean water over and you're not getting any interference, that's all you're looking for. It really doesn't matter where it is on the boat, just so long as you know where it is.
Yeah.
Oh, let me mention one thing about that, because the transducer and where you put the transducer, one of the things that people ask me a lot when I'm doing seminars and stuff is when they mark a waypoint, where does that waypoint reside? Where is it in relationship to where they are? You got to remember that the key to that is where the GPS antenna is. And in all your Helix units, unless you have an external antenna, it's an internal antenna, and where that antenna is and where that transducer is, it may be 10 feet apart. If you're in a boat that's fairly big and you've got it on the console, but you have a GPS antenna on the back of the boat as opposed to up on top of the T-top, you need to keep that in mind whenever you're marking waypoints.
Yeah, I never thought about that much. Another question from Mr. Carson. Which type of fishing do you like, saltwater or freshwater?
I like all fishing. It doesn't matter if it's a bluegill brim or if it's a snook or if it's a redfish. But from a saltwater standpoint, I do kind of lean toward a nice big grouper because I can invite him home for dinner.
I like the blue herons. Let's play it.
I've asked the question 4 times. What's my biggest bass? Right at 10 pounds around town fishing. I caught it in a retention canal over in Canaveral Groves in Cocoa.
Hook'em's asking what's the best way to use Procure. That's a good question.
Best way to use Procure is say these 4.5-inch swim baits. And Susan asked what my favorite bass lure was. We use these guys right down in Okeechobee, and if you look at the color, they look like any natural shiner out there. So that's the color I chose. They're on Lake Okeechobee, and they work great. They have a little pocket inside of them that you can actually take the Procure and just goosh it all up in there. It's like a paste, and it'll last in there, till the fish eats it away. It lasts a good long time in there, and that stuff stinks, but it works like a charm. Let's see.
Jeremy's asking, do you ever fish with the crew? Well, what happened on before we ever did the show? One of the camera guys, he grabbed hold of one of the baits, and what did he do? He hooked up and just like that.
Yep.
It was incredible.
Using a big old spoon fed him.
Question.
How do you get the Navionics water aerials out of the chart? I like to see the Navionics topo, but no satellite imagery. You can turn on the satellite imagery and you can turn it off. You actually have to. When you pop it in, the satellite imagery is not going to come on unless you've turned it on. So you have the ability to do that. And that's another one of those videos that you're going to be able to find on YouTube on Humminbird TV.
Real Yakin has asked if I like the injection style Procure or the gel. I like the gel. Just it's real easy and quick to use. So I do prefer the gel.
Cam and Scott's asking if I've ever fought an AJ. I think that would be called a reef donkey, and there's a reason for that. So absolutely I have. I've caught some over 50 pounds, which is not as big as they get, but it sure is good.
It hurt your back.
Yeah, they do hurt your back. It's kind of like you want to catch one and done, right? But hey, when they're that big, they'll feed a bunch of people.
Here's one. Can you see flounder on the Si Hummingbird? Yes, you can. I got a flounder hole in 72 feet of water off Canaveral, and when they're around there, they leave. It's hard to differentiate them from croakers on the bottom because the signature is right there on the bottom, and a flounder's air bladder, I guess, is flat. So you got to look, and it looks just like a little film on the bottom, and it's a little blue film. It looks like bait on the bottom, but if you're in the flounder hole and it's there, you know it's flounder. So yes, it does show them up. When am I going to do a flounder gigging show? Probably not a flounder gigging show, but you'll see them get them hooked in the mouth. Let's see, who's AJ and why are you fighting him?
Man, some of these questions are crazy, aren't they?
They are. I absolutely love it. Well, folks, we're fixing to get it wound down here. Make sure you tune into the season finale. It's going to air this weekend. Great season finale. We look back and you get to see some bloopers that I didn't know was even on the I didn't know they filmed them. So we'll see what happens there. But don't forget about the season finale, the website, the Show Your Mogan contest. That's going to go on again next year. And want to thank Bill Carson from Johnson Outdoors for being here. And I tell you, I've used the Humminbirds now for, 15, 16 years now, and I learned something new last week and yesterday on them for sure. How do you find Talon redfish? Jacob wants to know. Jacob, with the wind here coming up the next couple months, it's going to be hard to find them, Talon. Get out early in the morning along the oyster beds at about mid-low tide as it's coming in. They should move in with the tide, and they're not going to stick their tail up like this waving a lot of times. You might just see a little tiny tip of the tail, and that's it. Just a little bit of the tail come up, and that's considered tailing. I always used to think, oh, the redfish are tailing. They're standing on their heads. They're wagging like this, and every once in a while you see it like that, but most of the time it's just a little tiny tip of the tail sticking up.
Good stuff.
Oak Island, North Carolina, and get on some of them bull reds. Would love to. When's the next show? That's the producer man question.
Next show?
The next AF Live.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you
There you
guys
go.
really like AF Live? That's a question and we should be asking you. Are you learning stuff from AF Live? Is it a great show for you? If it is, tell us it is so we can bring more stuff. We can come talk to you about more of the products. We can talk to you about Minn Kota. You might want to know something about trolling motors. How do you use them? Talons, any of those products. Let us know what you want, and we will see if we can help bring it to you.
Bill, we got a lot of people that have signed on to this since you said a great comment earlier about Humminbird and Minn Kota's website out there that have a lot of how-to videos. You can go to their website, and there's a lot more videos there on how-tos.
Yep.
And
they're on YouTube, and they're on humminbird.com, and they're on minnkota.com. Or if you happen to be using Canon Downriggers, they're on canondownriggers.com. So there are videos on all of those three websites.
And we used Canon Downriggers in fresh water last week. It was pretty wild. First time ever doing that.
Good stuff.
All right, folks, once again, thanks for tuning in. I want to say thanks to everybody out there for tuning in from California to Florida and up in the Northeast. We even saw one from New Zealand up there today. And the Emirates.
Yeah.
Emirates.
Just remember, if you don't put your trocar in the water, you can't pull something out with it.
That's it. You got to make sure it's there so you can see it on your Humminbird unit. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next AF Live. Make sure you tune in to the website and the Mogan Lounge, and we'll tell you when the next AF Live is going to be and who's going to be on here. We might even have him again. Never know. Y'all take care and enjoy the video on the way out.
Good stuff. Catch them up.
What am I doing on the way out?
It's supposed to be a video. How you doing? Captain Blair Wiggins here with Addictive Fishing Television. Going to take a minute and show you how I use my Onyx Humminbird with the side imaging feature on it. Now, a lot of times when I'm fishing areas, you always go to your favorite spot, but when I get done fishing it, what I like to do is take my side imaging and kind of go around in the area and just to check to see if there's any structure down there that, that I don't know about or that I've never seen on the side imaging before. So I like to get out there and just look around. Now, what we're looking at here is we're coming underneath a bridge right now, and you'll see structure on each side of the bridge here that you can't see. I mean, with this chocolate water, you can't see it, and I've used this down in Stewart and all kinds of areas where the water's this dark tannic where you can't see the bottom. But you see all this little structure out here that you wouldn't know was there unless you had the side imaging. What a great feature by Humminbird. The new Onyx, this is the 8-inch SI by Humminbird. Get one, you'll find some more fishing locations, and guaranteed you'll be catching some more fish.